Gregg, welcome to Studio 51.
Pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. Glad to have you. We're here at the EMS update at Seven Springs. It's our 37th year. Lots of good education going on here amongst lots of good people. It's really amazing to see the number of people that are here. It was great to see how many people sat through your presentation. It was engaging. I didn't sing and I didn't clap because I've been told that I actually clap off beat, so I didn't want to.
Well, I won't hold that against you.
Hold that against you. I was smart about it. I actually walked out of the room when it's time to clap. You know what I mean?
You got to know your limits.
You do, absolutely. So, but we do appreciate you being here. Anxious to hear more about your book and your career and all the things that you do and why you're so passionate about employee engagement.
Sure, happy to tell you.
But fun question to get started, Gregg. So, what is the one thing that you would do if you were invisible?
All right, so I've given this a lot of thought. If I were invisible, I would just randomly pick people up and float them across the street. It would scare the heck out of onlookers, but I would get a great chuckle about that.
It would be. Yeah. So they would be visible, but you would be.
They're invisible, I'm invisible. We're doing the whole, what is it, the Texas Roadhouse thing?
Yeah.
The time of your life. We're dirty dancing. Lift them up in the air and just walk them across intersections.
Okay. Well, two Patrick Swayze reference.
There, you know what I mean?
Very neat. Yeah, so good. So obviously we're at an EMS conference, all this education going on. Our primary goal is, of course, to educate on how can they be better EMS providers one way or another, or in the case of your presentation, better leaders, right? Or better employees even, right? So one of the questions I like to ask everybody is, have you or a family member ever needed to utilize EMS? And I don't want any specifics, but what was that experience? So good, bad, indifferent. What did you like? What could be the takeaway for an EMS provider?
I have not had to use EMS services. This is good. I'm smiling because on my way here, I was talking to my dad, my parents, and he goes, "You should tell them the story about how the EMS helped me." And I said, "Well, Dad, I don't know if it was your finest moment." They were in a shore town, at the Jersey Shore.
Yeah.
And, I think they had a few too many. And he was walking across the street, 1 foot tripped over another, and he went right down on his face.
Okay.
And it was traumatic for the family because he's gushing blood. And EMS were professional, prompt, made sure he got the care that he needed. And, now we can razz him about it.
Yeah. Well, first of all, we're glad he's okay.
Yes.
And that we're able to joke about it.
Yes.
And that is a pretty routine call for us. But we also recognize that it's not routine for the family. Right?
Sure.
So one of the takeaways, that I'm hearing is it sounds like the EMS folks that were there, they were obviously quick. That's one of the first things that we're judged on is how quickly we got there. It also sounds like they professionally managed the situation and were able to calm your family.
Yeah.
Right. So
in any emergency circumstance, I think that's what you pointed out is so apt, that it is routine for the first responders, but it is a wholly different experience for the people who are going through it. And so the call it bedside manner of these professionals was impeccable.
Yeah, very good. Glad to hear it. And I think that's a great takeaway for our folks. What did you do prior to your career in public speaking?
So before I became a public speaker, I had two jobs. By day, I was a sales consultant, a corporate consultant, and by night, I was a dueling piano bar performer. So I got to travel around the world working with audiences of all shapes and sizes, getting them engaged, excited, and singing, clapping along.
Yes.
I failed today in my mission to get you to join in the...
Well, I did raise my hand. I did get involved. I sang a few times, probably off key.
Was that why they asked you to leave?
No, I chose to leave, you know what I mean? But they would have if I'd have kept on singing, you know what I mean? So, by all means. So, now in the corporate world, you're obviously here because you do a presentation on employee engagement.
Sure.
So, it is obviously something that you are passionate about. So, my suspicion is that ties more into your corporate world than necessarily into the dueling piano world.
I would love to tell you that it's altruistic and done with love, but it is selfish. For the first time I'm going to admit here on this live, I am selfish because I know that if I help other people enjoy their job better, they're going to be happier. And when I pass them on the street or I interact with them at work, they're going to smile. They're going to be happier. They're going to be more pleasant to interact with. So I selfishly want the world to be a little bit more fun to interact with. And the added business benefit is that more engaged employees are more productive employees. And if we're doing our job right as leaders, more productive employees mean a more profitable organization.
Absolutely. Great. So I can understand that. So, but now management background, any particular roles in management? I mean, obviously you said about corporate consulting. And you mentioned the company that you were working for in the past.
Yeah, so I managed sales teams. I also worked for an organization. My sort of last W-2 job was working with an organization that went in and consulted for other companies who were having workforce engagement problems. And so I was seeing firsthand the challenges and the personality types that we were interacting with. And I was thinking about this connection between, this is kind of like what I need to do at the piano bar, but just done in a business setting. And my coworkers were, degreed out the wazoo. They had their MBA and their PhD and this and that, and they approached it from this very scientific standpoint.
Sure.
And so I thought, well, nobody's going to listen to my silly piano bar ideas.
Yeah.
But when I left the workforce and I started discussing these ideas with others, some of the PhDs and the very pedigreed people were like, hey, that's a great idea. We could do something with that. So I was pleased to see that there is this marriage between what works in a piano bar and what works in the professional world. And my job is to help bridge that gap for the attendees.
Yeah. No, and kudos to you for putting together what you did. I certainly appreciated, the SIP, the fill out a slip, right? Leave a tip, as well as the other pieces, the components of keepers, leavers, and sleep. And so I told you, as in conversation a bit ago, some of the things that I intend on doing in my own department, with employee engagement. So I appreciated that very much. And obviously it was fun just to sit here the last few minutes and I hear other folks and the conversation that they've had with you. So I want you to know that it was impact.
Glad to hear that.
So if you had to give one tip for employers, not necessarily tip jar, right?
Sure.
But a management type of tip or a tip that you've come with over the years for employers, what would that be?
To treat their people as customers. I mean, we think a lot about how to better engage the people who are buying our services or spending money with our organization. And many leaders I interact with, I don't want to say that they discount or treat the employees as secondary, but they don't put as much thought into what the customer experience is like being an employee. Because in effect, that's what an employer is doing. That job is a product that they're trying to sell to a prospective employee or a current employee. And the question that each employee gets to ask or answer every day is, do I want to buy that again?
Right. Well, I'm going to go to work tomorrow.
Do I want to go to work tomorrow?
And how long am I going to stay at my current employer?
Yeah.
And, you talk about leapers, what is the message that they're going to leap with, right? When you go to another organization, are they going to have had a positive experience that they're going to talk positive about the organization, or is it going to be something negative? So,
yeah,
good. I definitely agree. I've always tried to focus on customer service, but there's internal and there's external customers. Certainly is a message. Good. So thanks for that. With respect to, same thing, right? If you were giving a message to employees, what would that be?
Well, I talked earlier in the keynote about how if the paycheck is the most valuable thing you get from your job, you're probably in the wrong job. But what I'd love to share with employees is that it is their responsibility to be a better person than their boss hired every day. If you're coming into work on day 2 and you are, from a skills, whether it's personal or professional standpoint, the same person, you're less valuable to your employer. The world is changing. Inflation is happening. And so you need skill inflation. And you can't count on the employer to develop your personal skills that make you more valuable to other employers. You can only count on them, hopefully count on them, to develop the skills that make you effective as an employee in the position you're in.
Okay.
So succinctly, continue to work on yourself. I saw a meme the other day. Keep working on yourself as if you were I-95. But do that. I-95 never seems to not have construction crews on it. Treat yourself like I-95 and never stop working.
I live along I-79 and I say the same thing. There's always something going good on 79. Always something on. So very interesting. And I think, to go back to and stay with that employee perspective, looking back to my notes, I think it's so important for employees to give tips, right? Suggestions to their employers, right? I mean, obviously it's great for the employers to solicit that, right? But also for the employees to be willing. Well, I realize that question from employers is important.
Yes, and I want to make a distinction though between this idea of request slips and tips.
Yeah.
So if you're an employee, that request slip is a collaborative opportunity. So that is creating communication between the leadership and the employee base and sharing ideas.
Okay.
But when you think about tips as an employee, because it's easy to think about that from a leadership role, as an employee, what are you putting in the tip jars, the metaphorical tip jars of the people around you? Meaning, if we work together, are you feeling like your emotional tip jar is drained when you see me, or do I fill up that tip jar for you? Ask as an employee what you can do to fill up your coworkers' tip jars.
Yeah. And in our business, it's extremely important. Oftentimes it's a two-man crew, right? So, if you get stuck working with a miserable person, you might be working with that person for 4 hours, 8 hours, 12 hours, 24 hours. It's important that you have someone that hopefully has a positive attitude. I heard an interesting number today, that, we are so much, I forget the exact number that was given. I wish I could remember it right now. But we're 5 times more likely to be negative about a situation than we are positive, right? So I think it's important for employees to find happiness where they can find happiness and create it as much as possible as well within their organization.
Yes.
Good stuff. You've worked with lots of clients. I looked at your website. Very interesting, to see the different presentations that you've done and so forth. Very big companies. Any particular great success stories that you've heard, back from clients afterwards?
Yeah. And what I love about this is that it's not just clients that I hear from, meaning the big corporation. It's individual team members.
Okay.
Who talk about their manager sitting through this session and then coming back and actually implementing the strategy.
That's awesome.
That, I think, for me, it's great that people listen, and when they come up and they say, I enjoyed the presentation, that means a lot because I worked hard on putting this together. But what I want you to do is take one thing from it and go and implement it.
Yes.
And so this idea of tip jars was taken by a manager, and they said, I want to take it literally. And so they bought little tiny fish bowls like you'd get from a fair.
Okay.
And little slips of paper.
Okay.
So instead of money, it was a slip of paper.
Okay.
And it's, what do you want in your tip jar? And what do you want other people to put in yours? And they did an exercise with their team. They started to use it as a team building exercise.
Okay.
So to think that something I created got brought into the world for other people, that really makes me smile.
That's an awesome story. Yeah, by all means. So, Gregg, tell me about your book.
Sure. So the tip jar culture, how to re-engage and reignite your workforce, is something that I wrote begrudgingly in a way.
Okay.
I love doing the keynote.
Turns out.
But I'd have people coming up to me afterwards saying, where do we get the book?
Yeah.
And I'd say, I don't have a book. And after enough people did that, I thought, I got to write a book. So what it allowed me to do, and what I love so much about this, is it allowed me to go deeper than I can in the keynote. I can't share as much content as I want to in 60 minutes. And a lot of the research, the psychology, the behavioral economics behind all of this, it's in the book, and I can't really put that up on stage. So this is a really good companion, I think, to the experience. But even standing on its own, it gives people a first step.
Good. Very good. Would you be able to direct us to your website, tell the viewers how to get in touch with you, how to learn more about your organization, as well as more about the tip jar culture?
Sure. You can go to my website, which is GreggoryOffner.com. You can find me on pretty much all of the socials at Gregory Offner Jr., JR for Junior. And I think that my email's on there too. So if you want, drop me a line, say hello, tell me what you want to know, and I'm happy to respond personally.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate you coming today.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, it's been certainly enlightening. I wanted to present you with something that you may be familiar with, you may not be familiar with, but this is a challenge coin, right? So I think it's actually, might be the second year that EMS West, for the EMS update, has presented a challenge coin. It's something that we give out to folks for doing a good job in different areas, and I believe you've done a great job. We appreciate you. So the way it works is like that. I'm honored to shake hands, and that's all.
And now, see, I know about this because I went to military school. If I don't have this at the bar later, they're all going to be up for a round of free drinks.
And lots of people know you and have it, right? So you could find yourself, pretty broke. So thank you again very much. It's a pleasure meeting you, and wish you the best.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. Thank you, folks. Appreciate you watching. Learn more about Gregg on all of his multimedia sites. Thank you.